Today on Steelers Talk, I'm going to be reacting to ESPN's comprehensive offseason preview for the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2026, which covers a wide array of different topics here, ranging from a three-word summary heading into the 2026 offseason for the Pittsburgh Steelers, their top offseason priority, their second offseason priority, an early draft outlook, a big prediction for the offseason, and then their initial ranking for the Pittsburgh Steelers in the 2026 power rankings in the National Football League. And make sure you guys stay tuned towards the end of the show here for a powerful message that the ESPN crew sent to the Pittsburgh Steelers as they embark on the 2026 offseason this year. Now, before we get into my reaction to ESPN's preview of the Steelers 2026 offseason, you guys can check out some of our merch that we have available just in time for Valentine's Day. It's our Married Into This collection here on Steelers Talk. I personally helped our design team here at Chat Sports come up with this collection because I want to give you guys some really cool individualized merch opportunities here for certain holidays, for certain events that happen around the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I thought Valentine's Day was a great place to start. If you guys want, you guys can check out our website at chatsports.com/VDayST. We've got a bunch of great stuff on there. We've got white and black unisex sweatshirts as well as ladies' t-shirts available. Everything is made with really awesome, super soft materials that your special someone is definitely going to love. It also helps out the show because it is a revenue stream for us, guys, and that helps us keep our content free and pay for all the stuff that we have to pay for in studio here. So, guys, my bosses tell me if this does well, we can do more merch opportunities in the future for St. Patrick's Day, which is coming up here very soon, for the NFL Draft, for the 4th of July, for whenever the Steelers make a big trade. We can do different merch opportunities if this does well. So if you haven't already, get something from our collection today. By the way, the sweatshirts are unisex, so if you want to wear one of these, I'm talking to you, the fellas here. You guys can go chatsports.com/VDayST to get yours today, just in time for Valentine's Day. So ESPN's three-word offseason summary heading into the offseason for the Pittsburgh Steelers, according to the Steelers reporter for ESPN, Brooke Pryor, is quote-unquote not a rebuild. This is what Brooke had to say going into the Steelers offseason. Though the Steelers changed from Mike Tomlin to Mike McCarthy at head coach, they still don't have clarity on the starting quarterback for the 2026 season. But team president and CEO Art Rooney II was clear that he doesn't view the offseason as an opportunity to rebuild. Instead, Rooney signaled in his actions and words that he believes his roster is primed to break the drought of playoff success. After McCarthy finishes building his staff, the next priority to fulfilling Rooney's wishes is to identify the next franchise quarterback, either in the upcoming draft or via a bridge QB, until the Steelers can secure their signal caller of the future. And this actually ties in to ESPN's top offseason priority for the Pittsburgh Steelers, which is to find a starting quarterback for the 2026 season. This is what the ESPN staff had to say about this. Last offseason, the Steelers signed Aaron Rodgers to a one-year contract, drafted Will Howard, and signed Mason Rudolph to a 2-year deal. The Steelers could woo the 42-year-old Rodgers to return for another season, or they could look to the 2026 draft, though it appears to be a thin quarterback class. The Steelers could also add another inexpensive bridge quarterback and find a solution in the 2027 draft, or perhaps they consider a blockbuster trade for a QB in an untenable situation. And guys, for me personally, I look at the top offseason priority here as fixing the wide receiver room, because I think, whether it's Rodgers, whether it's Kyler Murray, whether it's Malik Willis, if you don't give DK Metcalf and whoever that quarterback is some help in the wide receiver room, and you get those double teams off of DK Metcalf, and you don't give him any other possible weapons to separate versus man coverage, it's not going to matter really who the quarterback is next year. You're going to be limited. And for me, I think the biggest area that the Steelers can improve this offseason, and the biggest way where they can take that next step as a football team, is by going out and getting DK Metcalf some friends, and some good ones. You take a look at the receiving stats last year in the wide receiver room. I mean, outside of DK Metcalf, really didn't have anybody, okay? Like, you didn't have another receiver that even got to 400 yards on the season. And, this is just something that needs to be better. 2 years ago when we had Russell Wilson, it was an issue because we had Van Jefferson as our number 2 wide receiver. This year it was a problem with a hodgepodge of different, wide receiver 4 and 5 types, trying to establish themselves as a number 2 guy. It never ended up happening. The Steelers have to get this right this year if they want to take that next step. It doesn't matter who the quarterback is next year. So what say you guys? Let me know down there in the comment section what should be the number 1 priority for the Pittsburgh Steelers this offseason. Let me know your guys' take down there in the comment section for today's pinned question. In just a second here, I'm going to tell you about our sponsor today at Harry's. While I tell you about today's sponsor, let me know down there in the comment section what the number 1 priority for the black and gold is, or at least should be, this offseason. And with that, let's have a word from our sponsor today at Harry's. And guys, before I switched to Harry's, I was just a high school and college kid with no money, and I couldn't afford the more premium, shaving products or anything like that. But I was tired of the bargain brand razors irritating and even cutting my skin. And that's where Harry's came in, and I haven't looked back since. Harry's newest product, Harry's Plus, is their most advanced razor ever, and it's still cheaper than Gillette Fusion 5. Harry's Plus has an advanced pivoting system to reach every corner of your face, refined blade tech for a closer, smoother shave, and a weighted metal handle, which is Harry's heaviest handle ever for added comfort and control. But the best part about Harry's Plus is how affordable it is. Harry's owns their own world-class blade factory in Germany, which means no outsourcing and no middlemen to drive up their prices. Because Harry's controls their entire process from steel to shelf, they can keep costs low and pass the savings on to you without sacrificing quality. And if you don't love your shave, Harry's is going to make it right with you, no questions asked. The risk-free trial means there's zero downside to giving them a shot. For a limited time only, our listeners can get the Harry's Plus trial set for only $10 at harrys.com/chat. This set includes the all-new Harry's Plus razor, one refined 5-blade cartridge, a 2-ounce foaming shave gel, and a travel cover to protect your blades on the go. Just head on over to harrys.com/chat to claim this offer, and after you purchase, they'll ask where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them that we sent you, and a big thank you to Harry's for sponsoring today's edition of Steelers Talk. Now, ESPN's second top priority for the Pittsburgh Steelers heading into this offseason is to add a true wide receiver, too. So very similar to my top priority is their second priority. This is what the ESPN staff has to say about the Steelers' need at wide receiver. The Steelers tried to make it work with DK Metcalf and an ensemble cast of pass catchers, but that didn't produce a consistent passing game. Metcalf attracted a lot of attention, and teams had success taking him away. His absence in the loss to the Browns at the end of the season with the suspension further highlighted the lack of their depth. So for me, guys, my second top priority, because I already have wide receiver as my top priority this year, is to turn the defense from good to great/elite. Because, plain simply, guys, Terrell Austin, Mike Tomlin, I think that, they probably didn't get the most out of this group. And, the truth is, if Pittsburgh is going to take that next step and, and they're going to go from a team that's just, finding a way to get to the playoffs every year to a team that's actually competing for a Super Bowl, they got to have a defense like the dark side defense that we had in Seattle this year, like the Philadelphia Eagle Fangio defense that they had 2 seasons ago. You got to have a group that is a top 5 at the bare minimum, probably top 3, a truly elite group with the way that this roster is constructed if they want to win in the short term. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. And lately, guys, under Mike Tomlin and Terrell Austin, we know this defense, despite being super talented and despite being super expensive, they have underperformed. They have been paid like a top 5, top 3 unit, and they're only performing like a top 10 group at best. And I think part of that is kind of the outdated schemes that Terrell Austin and Mike Tomlin were deploying here in Pittsburgh. And honestly, they would put their linebackers in particular in some pretty tough spots, and they were pretty predictable, and really good play callers could figure them out pretty easily. And hopefully, new defensive coordinator here in Pittsburgh, Patrick Graham, is the guy that can bring some of that modern scheme here to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I think that he will. I mean, he's been super multiple throughout his career, changing up the fronts and the schemes and the types of coverages that he runs based on his personnel. And he's got more talent to work with here in Pittsburgh right now than he's ever had to work with in any of his stops as a defensive play caller. He's gotten the most out of some really bad and poorly talented Las Vegas Raiders defenses and New York Giants defenses. And I think that now that he finally has some talent to work with, I think Patrick Graham is going to become a defensive play calling superstar here with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And the reason why I'm not including the quarterback spot on either of my top 2 offseason priorities here, guys, is because the Steelers, the options that they have are not going to move the needle all that much in terms of taking the Steelers from where they are now and taking them to where they want to be, which is a Super Bowl contender. The two things that are going to help the Steelers move the needle this offseason the most is not bringing back Aaron Rodgers or bringing in Malik Willis or Kyler Murray or any of these other quarterback options. It's going to be to get that quarterback a really good set of weapons and then to give that quarterback an elite defense, just like the Philadelphia Eagles gave Jalen Hurts, just like the Seattle Seahawks gave Sam Darnold. I believe, especially if you bring back Aaron Rodgers this year, he's more than good enough with an elite defense and with a great group of weapons, not to mention an upgraded offensive play caller, to get this team to where it needs to go, and that is not only to the playoffs, but to some playoff victories and a chance to hoist a Lombardi trophy. So what do you guys think is the biggest priority and the biggest need for the Steelers to address this year? Is it the wide receiver room? Do they need to turn around the defense? Is that the biggest need? Do they need to get the right quarterback? Let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section. WR for wide receiver, D for defense, or QB for quarterback. Let me know what you guys think down there in the comments. So now let's talk some draft talk here, where ESPN gives us a quick early draft outlook for the Pittsburgh Steelers and what they're expecting from the black and gold this year. Matt Miller, one of their draft analysts, says this: the Steelers are likely out of range for a top quarterback prospects again, but adding an impact wide receiver is possible in round one. USC's Mekhi Lemon is the type of dynamic route runner and yards after the catch producer who would thrive opposite of Metcalf. And their big prediction for the year is that the Steelers will use multiple draft picks on promising young wide receivers this year. And Matt Miller and their entire draft crew there at ESPN believe that the Steelers are going to really hone in on the wide receiver position in the draft this year. And guys, I'm all for taking a wide receiver in round one this year, okay? And I'm all for, going for multiple wide receivers during the course of the NFL draft this year. I think that with most of the wide receivers in last year's group leaving in free agency, it's an opportunity to inject some youth into this group. I think you probably have to draft a really high-end prospect early in the draft, and then you probably want to go with another one that's got some higher upside but maybe needs to develop a little bit more in the middle rounds of the NFL draft this year. But I would be at least a little surprised, guys, that if the Steelers don't double dip at this position in the NFL draft this year. I even utilized this strategy in my latest 7-round Steelers mock draft that is currently up on the channel right now. I'll put the link to that one in the comments and description and put the chip in the top right if you want to see my latest 7-round mock draft for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But my big prediction for the Steelers this year, kind of similar to ESPN's, is I think Pittsburgh trades up for a wide receiver this year. I mean, 12 draft picks is a lot, guys, and they do have a number of mid-round draft picks that I think some teams in the mid-teens could be looking to acquire, in a trade-down situation. If a guy like Jordan Tyson from Arizona State falls into the mid-teens, if a guy like Carnell Tate, maybe even Mekhi Lemon, falls to that mid-teens level, and you feel like those are the types of guys that are going to be the true game changers for you in 2026, go up and get one of those guys, man, because, you got DK Metcalf. He's on the big wide receiver contract here in Pittsburgh, $30 million per season. You're probably going to be bringing in, a decent veteran in free agency, probably not too expensive, somewhere between $15 and $20 million per year is probably who they're going to be bringing in free agency on a more short-term contract. Now the next piece that they would need is somebody on a rookie deal with 5 years on it for first-round pick contract that can be that running mate for DK Metcalf for the next half-decade on a rookie deal while Metcalf is making all that money. That's what makes the most sense to me, and if you can get an opportunity to go up for Jordan Tyson, I would absolutely do it. That guy is absolutely a freak that I think could be a day-one impact, maybe even the rookie of the year in the Steelers offense if you go and get him. Now, I promised you guys a powerful message from the ESPN crew at the beginning of today's show, and that powerful message is that they don't think the Steelers are all that good. They rank them number 21, not even inside the top 20 in their way too early power rankings for the 2026 season. And listen, man, for me, I think 21st is way too low, okay? Now, I know that there's uncertainty at the quarterback position. That could be factoring in here, but the Steelers haven't been a non-top 20 team in the National Football League in a very long time, and it seems like ESPN every single year thinks the Steelers are going to bottom out and that they're going to just stink. And I remember multiple people from ESPN thinking that this team would win 4 to 6 games this year, and it would be every year over the last 5 years, it's going to be Mike Tomlin's first losing season. No, the Steelers are almost never that bad, and I look at the Steelers roster right now, and there's not that many things that they need this offseason to take this team to the next level and get more than 10 wins next year. So I think this team is at least in the top 15. That puts them in, the playoff caliber team conversation there. I think that's about what they've been over the last several years, is around that 15th best team in football. And, I look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I think that they've got the ability to get even higher than that and get into the top 10 or even into the top 5 if they make the proper moves this offseason. And, I'll finish today's show here, guys, with my 3-word summary. Now, just to remind you, ESPN's 3-word offseason summary was not a rebuild. Mine, I think, is a little bit more optimistic, where I'm going to go with onwards and upwards, okay? Because obviously you're moving onward from Mike Tomlin as your head coach. You're moving forward with Mike McCarthy, but also you have an opportunity to get better and really have that upward trajectory as a team. You've got Patrick Graham, who I think is an upgrade at defensive coordinator. I think Mike McCarthy is an upgrade at offensive play caller. I think you have an opportunity with the cap space and draft picks that you have to upgrade the wide receiver room. I think that you've got some great opportunities to make this Steelers team better than what it was in the final years of the Mike Tomlin regime, and I'm very hopeful and very excited to see what Omar Khan and Mike McCarthy are able to put together during the course of the 2026 offseason this year. So it's your turn. Let me know down there in the comment section, what is your 3-word summary heading into the Steelers 2026 offseason? For me, it's onwards and upwards. Let me know your 3-word summary down there in the comment section to finish up today's show. And that'll be it for today's edition of Steelers Talk by Chat Sports. We'll have another video for you guys later in the evening here tonight, so make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already. Till next time, guys, here we go, Steelers.